Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 7 o'clock by the official Town of Warren Town Hall clock. This is the July meeting of the Town of Warren Zoning Board of Review. I am the chair, Andrew Ellis. To my right is Jason Rainone, followed by Jason Nystrom, the vice chair, Barrett Holby, Michael Elves, David Francis, and Chuck Thibodeau. Mr. Elves and Mr. Francis are alternate members. They can participate in the discussion, ask questions, but they will not be voting members unless one of the regular members recuses themselves or this meeting is continued to a future date and one of the regular members is not available. We would ask tonight that when you come to the podium, if you can please spell your name and speak clearly, because the stenographer is not able to be here in person, but she is watching via YouTube. But we just want to make sure that we get all the testimony down correctly. So please just speak clearly and spell your name for us if you could. The first matter on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the previous meeting on June 21st as circulated. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes, or is there a motion?
I move approval of the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the minutes of June 21st are approved. We have no old business. There were no matters continued from previous meetings, so we will jump right into the new business. And first we have application 2324, Ned Realty Inc., the owner, and Coffee Cabinets LLC, the applicant, 496 Main Street, Plat 4, Lot 106. Request for a special use permit to increase from 3 residential dwelling units to 4 residential dwelling units, and a variance for relief of the required parking in the village business zoning district. Is there a representative of the applicant? So if you could just come up, sir, and please identify yourself for the record.
Good evening. Nicholas Balzano,
Yes,
NICH
yep.
OLAS BALZANO,
All right, and your address is
11 Brookfield Avenue, Barrington, Rhode Island.
Barrington Road. All right, and you are the applicant?
Yes,
Okay.
one of.
One of the applicants.
Yes.
So give us a brief description of what you'd like to do with this property and why you need a special use and a variance in order to do it.
Perfect, thank you. So as a group, Coffee Cabinets LLC, in partnership with the Delecta family, we're trying to keep Delecta's in business and operational while creating housing in the building that needs some work. Currently, building is permitted for 3 residential units, 2 commercial on the first level, and then the three units would be on the 2 floors above.
So could you just stop for a moment and explain that a little bit? Because looking at the plans,
Yep.
it appeared there was 1 residential unit on the 2nd floor and then a vacant space on the 3rd floor. So I was having a hard time understanding where the 3 existing units are.
So I guess in the records, it was the building is there isn't 3 residential units as we sit here today. But
So currently, how many residential units are there?
there's 1 on the 2nd floor
And the
and the
3rd
3rd
floor
floor
is
is vacant. Yep.
But the town records indicate that you would be allowed 3 residents.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Continue, please.
Yes. So plan is for the first 2 commercial on the first level to stay commercial. Delecta's stay operational, commercial business to the right of Delecta's. And then 2 units on the 4th floor, 2 units on the 3rd floor per the plans that we prepared for you today. That allow us to move forward with the project, gives us greater durability of rent. Allows more families to enjoy our shops and restaurants.
And so that's a special use, and we have a
Correct.
variance regarding parking, if you just want to explain.
Yes, that's
what
correct.
that is.
So currently 1 park,
You said 3rd and 4th floor. Did you mean 2nd and 3rd?
2nd and 3rd, thank you. Yes, you're right. Yep. Currently 1 parking spot in the rear of the building. And that's all that's available.
And that's all that's presently available on the site. So you're looking
That's
for
right.
from the parking. So let me just ask the solicitor, in the village business zoning district, does no parking only apply to commercial, restaurant and retail?
Correct.
So residential, even in the business, village business district still is required to meet the parking?
That's correct. It's residential.
All right, and so that's why he's asking for.
Yes.
Okay. So at some point, we'll just need to put on the record, how many spaces are you required to have under the ordinance versus how many you're actually providing? And that would be the total number on the property for all 4 residential units, because the commercial unit does not require any parking.
Okay.
Anyone have any specific questions after that introduction?
Has the fire marshal reviewed the plans at this point?
No, sir. Haven't gotten to that point.
Are the present businesses down on the first floor staying or changing?
Correct. Yeah, well, selected to stay on operational. To the right of that, it's going to be another business, likely an office space.
How many parking spaces do you currently have?
One behind the building.
One for the residences or one for the commercial?
It's really
One
up
for
in
the-
the air. I think Selectors uses it currently, but it's not assigned to any one unit in the building. Yeah,
Where is that parking spot located?
directly behind the building.
Oh, okay.
Easy to drive by and miss. Yeah, if you're not looking.
I was gonna say, I go down that street and I just
Yeah.
see municipal.
You see a dumpster,
Yeah.
but it would be in front of that.
Gotcha, okay.
Might be for the source of that. Is Main Street, can we have overnight, is there overnight parking on Main Street?
Police will have to look it up. I'm not 100% sure whether or not it's allowed.
Are we clear on the parking or do we need further? Okay,
So this would qualify as apartment dwellings, so we're 1.5 spaces per family unit.
I thought that was a number, but I didn't want to throw
that
it
would
out
be
on the
six,
record.
six
So-
total, and you have, what'd you say, one?
We have one.
So you're looking for a variance of 5 parking spaces. And do you have any plan in place to direct your tenants to look for like places to rent or something?
Yeah,
With regard
so-
to parking?
Exactly. Whether it's a private opportunity, because we think that obviously make it more attractive to find residents for the apartments. And if it comes with parking, that we have arranged a deal with a local business that does that parking. Definitely part of the plans. Absolutely.
Is if you're not familiar with the town, that parking is an extremely contentious issue in this town because of the lack thereof. And, we have very heavy tourist traffic, certainly in summer, but there's an overcrowding issue with the parking at all times
Understood.
of year. So there may be some concern, about adding additional units that we're not able to accomplish any off-street parking, but we do understand that the property is what it is, right? You can't make more land on that piece of property, so you're sort of limited to what is available on that property. Otherwise, you'd have to leave the building vacant essentially, which obviously is not in the best interest of the town or is not compatible with the comprehensive plan of the town.
Exactly.
So we'll just have to weigh those issues with regard to the parking. Was there anything else presently before we have public comment?
I think you already answered it, but I'd just like to review it. Right now, it's 3 units. Is it occupied? It's not
Yes, sir.
occupied.
No, second floor is vacant, and third floor is wide open.
wide open, so it's never been occupied.
Correct.
So basically, you're coming in there and trying to build it out into,
Someone
it's-
must have occupied the second floor unit at some.
That's
point in
correct.
time.
It's vacant currently, but it was occupied. Second floor was occupied up
So there
until a
was-
few weeks ago even.
oh, really? So
Yeah.
was it occupied by one unit or two units?
Oh, one individual.
One individual?
Yeah.
And is it two units now on the
We're
second floor?
proposing two on the second floor, two on the third.
There's
Yeah, but
only
it's-
one.
They proposed, there's only one.
There's only
Sorry.
one in the entire building presently, actually constructed.
Actually constructed.
There's some approval that allows them to have three, but
Three,
there's never been more than one functional unit
Correct.
ever in the building.
All right.
So essentially, the most occupancy this building ever had in the past was one residential unit. And now we're going to 4 residential. units.
Right. So, but it was approved for 3. So in the great scheme of things, we're actually asking for 1.5 parking spaces, if you look at it that way.
Essentially, because I don't know that there's any variance in place for the 3 that were previously approved. Is any? We don't have any records of that, do we? Do we even know when these 3 were approved? It just on the town, what is it, the tax assessor's card says this is a 3-unit residential building. We basically have no,
Well, how long has it been on there as a 3-unit? Because it's been on there for 10 or more years, I mean. It doesn't,
50 years, I don't know.
Yeah, it's either way, it's permitted, grandfather rights or through a variance. And I think he's just not looking for that 1.5 spots.
We probably need to state, though, that in approving this, the facility only provides 1 space where 6 were required. Because we don't have evidence of a variance. With the
Correct.
previous.
I agree with the chair, just to clarify the record, in reality is 6 spots are gonna be allowed if the board approves, correct? Make it clear in the decision in the motion. I agree.
Six spots from who knows where.
Well, he's got 1 on the property,
Yeah.
so he needs a variance of 5
Five.
spaces if it was to be approved.
Sorry, just so I understand. So if we're, the 3 units were to go ahead and build 3 units, right, they would still have some parking spots somewhere. Is that correct?
I don't know, because we don't have a variance on, like, whenever those 3 units were approved, I'm not sure we actually have documentation that they were approved with the condition that they were allowed not to have any parking. And there doesn't seem to be any documentation of that we don't know what the conditions were whenever that was approved. So we just need, whatever we approve tonight, we need to say what the present conditions. We understand that it has some documentation that 3 units were at some point allowed within the building. But the present condition we'd be approving is one parking space on site and relief of the other 5 that would be required under the ordinance.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the public who wants to offer any comments on this application? Not seeing anyone. Does the building inspector or zoning official have something to say?
Yes, the building official, I'd like to just comment that the applicant has been in the town for a long time. The business, as we all know, has been well established. The only issue recently we've had was the parking spot that we're speaking of, which is the 1 parking spot behind the building. I would just ask that the board potentially make it part of the motion that there is signage that states that that parking spot is not for the businesses, it's for a resident, and that the dumpster is facing the parking spot so it can be accessed from Joy Street. We worked with the applicant, recently had some complaints because the dumpster was facing the municipal parking lot, and it was actually taking up a spot where people were not parking there because they thought if they parked in front of the dumpster that they'd be towed. So if that can be placed in your motion, would be greatly appreciated by the.
We can probably also have conditions on the hours for the trash removal, so that it's not being picked up at an excessively early time or excessively late time, cause disturbance.
Yeah, I guess that's a question for the applicant. So the dumpster that's there, so, you know, for business, I presume it's
Mhm.
primarily used. Residences, are they gonna have barrels? Are they gonna be using that dumpster?
I'm gonna say they're gonna use the dumpster.
And what with dumpsters in Main Street, what we traditionally do is, or we've asked, is that applicants arrange for pickup not earlier than 8 in the morning, and I believe not after 6 PM, because it's loud.
Understood, yeah,
You don't want to wake people up. Is that something that you may be amenable to?
definitely.
Is there any further discussion on this application? Do you, as the applicant, have any closing remarks or other information you want to share with us?
No, they present.
Is there a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion, but I think we need to clarify one thing with the solicitor. If I'm reading the agenda correctly, the first item on the application includes both the special use permit and the variance for relief of parking. And then the second item on the agenda is another variance for relief of parking. Can we just approve the first item on the agenda, or do we?
Yeah, I would ask the motion on what to clarify, although it's the same, leave as requested.
But then in making the actual motion, is approval of one a default approval of the second, or should we strike the variance from?
Maybe
the
strike
first?
it out, that's getting just.
So we'll have a motion for the special use. And then once that is approved, we'll approve the variance in its own motion.
And we first have to make a motion to combine. one
Yes,
and
so
two.
is there a motion to combine these two applications so that they do in fact have different application numbers?
Okay, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so applications 2324 and 2329 are combined in so much as all the testimony that's been heard shall apply equally to both applications. But there will be separate documented motions to approve each of the components to the applications. So is there a motion on the special use permit portion?
Okay, I will make a motion to approve application 23-24, NED Realty Incorporated, owner and Coffee Cabinets LLC applicant, 496 Main Street, plat map 4, lots 106, request for a special use permit to increase from 3 residential units to 4 residential dwelling units in the Village Business Zoning District. In approving the special use permit, we will note that this special use permit will be compatible with the neighboring land uses. This is currently a mixed-use development. There is a residential unit on the 2nd floor, and there are commercial units on the 1st floor. This type of mixed-use building is very common in the Village Business Zoning District. This new residential density will not create a nuisance or a hazard in the neighborhood, in so much as the combination of residential and commercial spaces within downtown is not uncommon. It is compatible with the comprehensive community plan, as this will increase the density of housing available in the downtown Village Business District. And it will help to keep a long-standing commercial enterprise that is a fixture on Main Street in business for many years to come. And as such, the public convenience and welfare will be served by increasing residential density and maintaining commercial density within the Village Business District. In approving the special use permit, we will note that the dumpster that is present on the property as a condition of this approval will need to be turned so that it is facing Joyce Street and it is emptiable from Joyce Street without inconveniencing the municipal parking directly behind the building. We will further note that the dumpster cannot be emptied before 8 AM or after 6 PM to ensure that residential occupants in the surrounding buildings are not inconvenienced. And actually, we'll deal with that in the parking variance. We will also note that this special use permit is contingent upon the applicant receiving the final approvals of both the building official and the fire marshal for all of the interior layouts and any necessary permits.
Okay, are there any other conditions or amendments to that? Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that, the special use is passed 5-0. So now is there a motion on the variance portion?
I will move approval of application 23-29, NED Realty Inc. Incorporated owner, Coffee Cabinets LLC applicant. 496 Main Street, plat map 4, lot 106, request for a variance for relief of the required parking in the Village Business Zoning District. In having now 4 residential units on this property per the previous special use permit approval, this building would have required 1.5 parking spaces per family unit for a total of 6 parking spaces. As the property only has 1 parking spot currently, we will note that this hardship is due to the unique characteristic of the subject land or structure. We cannot magically invent new parking, therefore the variance is necessary. The hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant. The building is what it is. And in granting this request for a variance, we will not be altering the general character of the surrounding area or impairing the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or comprehensive plan. The density issues and parking issues in the Village Business District are certainly well documented. So under the circumstances, this relief seems appropriate. The relief granted is the least relief necessary in so much as due to a standing variance for parking on all commercial units. The 6 parking spots noted would be all that is required to service the 4 residential units. As there is 1 parking spot available on the property, the variance request would be for 5. In granting this variance, we will note that if it were not approved, it would consequent more than a mere inconvenience, as the owner would then be required to go off and privately secure and pay for additional parking. Under the circumstances, that is a difficult thing to do in downtown. And although the applicant has said that he is certainly going to be planning on doing something along those lines, it does not seem appropriate to necessarily contingent this variance upon that. One thing we will say is that this parking variance is contingent upon labeling the 1 parking spot available on site with appropriate signage that indicates that parking spot is for residential use only and that it should not be used by the commercial tenants of the building.
Are there any other conditions or amendments? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the variance is passed 5-0. You can work with the building and zoning official and the fire department to get whatever permits are necessary.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank
Thank you for
you.
your time.
Good luck.
We're now moving to application 2325, Nancy Devine, owner and applicant, 57 Water Street, plat map 2, lots 13, request for a variance to allow a projecting sign in excess of 6 inches from the structure in the Village Business Zoning District. You could just identify yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Tony DePoto, DEP.
So maybe back up a little.
Tony DePoto, DEPOTO.
Okay.
I'm
And you're representing the sign manufacturer or the owner?
I'm representing Nancy Devine.
You're representing Nancy Devine. Okay,
who?
and just a point of clarification, the what section of the ordinance is this? Because I know we don't seem to have the sections that we're requesting relief from listed in the agenda or on the application. So if we can just for a moment identify which, because I'm having difficulty finding the section that talks about the 6 inches.
Chair, section 32-1 district.
Oh, and the little chart that describes
All the way on that particular.
projecting shall not be set off structure. Yeah, so I think this is very similar. We just had one of these a couple of months ago. It's not that the sign itself can't project more than 6 inches. It's that the space between the face of the building and the edge of the sign cannot be more than 6 inches. So the sign can go, I mean, that would be ridiculous, because if you had a sign that was limited to 6 inches off the face of the building, you'd be able to see it.
Right, yeah, the sign is,
So how far from the face of the building is the sign?
like 4 inches.
4 inches?
Yeah. Whatever you suggest, actually.
Well, I don't know, so basically from this edge of this oval
Yep,
back to the face of the building, the ordinance says it can't be any more than 6 inches.
okay.
So you can be up to. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if that's the way that just,
that's what we decided a few months ago.
okay.
And the way it's written, it says, the sign shall not be set off the structure more than 6 inches.
If I may
So off the
interject,
structure, the sign shall not be, it's not saying that the sign itself can't be more than 6, because I mean, that'd be ridiculous. You make no, we
It-
talked about this, I don't know, in April or May or whatever, that our interpretation is that set off the structure means the distance between the face of the building and the beginning of the sign.
our interpretation of it was that because I'm a sign maker, I assumed that it was like a flush mounted box sign and a box can't be more than 6 inches.
No, because the projecting sign is
No,
defined
I-
as one perpendicular
Right,
to the.
right.
So shall we say that is 4 inches off the building okay?
Pardon me?
Is 4 inches,
Oh, yeah,
Off the
whatever
building.
you suggest is fine.
So I mean, honestly, I don't know, I mean, is the sign is not in excess of the square footage allowed, is that correct? That it's within the square footage?
6 feet, square for a square.
Is
Um,
it double sided
Yes.
Yes,
and we're still within the allowance?
Yes.
Well, yeah, and it's an oval, so it's not even really, yeah, it's more or less. huh?
What can you get?
So, in my opinion, I don't think there's any need for him to be here. Because the sign will not be set more than 6 inches off the face of the building.
great.
And I think that's consistent with our previous ruling a few months ago is our not interpretation. It's the
Well, it's
distance,
going to be tastefully made.
It's the
It'll be
distance
gold leaf
between-
and all that good stuff.
it's the distance between the face of the building and the edge of the sign per the way the ordinance is written. So would you like to ask that you can withdraw your application without prejudice?
If that means that.
That means that you don't have to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah, that means
That-
you can just do it. Yeah.
that means I can make the
All right,
sign.
so,
'Cause-
yeah, so long as the space between the building and the sign is no more than 6
Okay,
inches.
so we just submit our building permit.
Whatever you need to do.
Sign
to the
permit.
building commissioner's office, and the size of the sign has to be within.
You know what
Yeah.
we're talking about?
Yes,
Distance.
exactly.
Here's the building.
Right.
You can be
Make it
whatever,
4,
3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter, as long as it's less than.
5.5. 5 3/4. 5 1/4.
It just have to be.
It helps me in the future with other clients that might want to sign.
That's fine.
To know these.
It just
So-
has to be under 6 inches.
So is there a motion to have the applicant withdraw the application without? prejudice?
I'll make a motion for the applicant to withdraw application 2325.
That's fine. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, your motion is withdrawn, so you can submit your plans.
Thank you
to
very
the
much.
official. The next matter under new business is application 2326, Meta Realty owner and Bahij Boutros applicant, 651 Metacom Ave, flat map 15A, lot 251, request for a special use permit to allow a drive-through service window in the business zoning district. Good evening. So if you want to just identify yourself again, because I think you've been here before.
My name is Bahij, Bahij, Boutros, B as a boy, Outros. Nickname is David,
Just hold
and
on.
Nickname is David.
yeah, David. It's just easier. We own the property
Correct.
on Warren, and was KFC building. We done some improvement, and we just we were asked to be here. I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm willing to ask answer any question you guys have for us.
So this is the Baja, what is the name of the
Fresh.
business?
Baja Fresh Grill.
Yeah. And so you want a drive-through window so people can pick up their orders?
Well, when we purchased the building, it was a KFC.
Well, that's the next question.
Yes.
Is there an existing window on the building?
Absolutely, was
And there was
KFC
existing
pickup
drive.
drive-through window, and we don't want to do a drive-through. I don't like the voices. I don't like somebody talking on the phone. We copied the new technology that Chipotle is doing, which is people drive by. There's a IQ thing
The
code.
QR code?
You take the code in and you park in the car and you put your order in, you pay for it with the Toast POS system. When the food is ready, we'll send you a text message. You just go to the window, you pick it up and you leave. It's just easier in the winter if you have your kid with you, your baby, you're sick and stuff like that.
Yeah, all right. So if there's an existing drive-through that was part of the KFC and he turned this into another restaurant, why is he here?
Mr. Oh, so go ahead.
If you may, if I may, excuse me. Sure. When this applicant came before this board in reference to the signage, the applicant's legal counsel stated in the record that this was going to be a walk-up window, that it was not going to be a drive-up window.
Okay, it was a walk.
It was a walk-up window. So they have established their business here. It's doing great. They've actually expanded the outdoor. If you've gone by, they put the bollards up. Part of the walk-up was the bollards. So I think they've realized after speaking with them that it's actually a safety issue having the walk-up window as opposed to a drive-up window. People are parking, walking through the parking lot where this can just be a drive-up. So the original plan was that you were going to be able to, they have the signage already. You're going to scan the QR code, drive in the parking lot, get out of your vehicle, go and pick up your order. Tonight, again, it was a legal issue with what happened at the last hearing. So what the applicant is asking is that it changed from walk-up window to drive-up window. Everything would stay the same. There is no speaker. There's no illumination on that board. We're just changing from walk-up to drive-up. And on the town side, after speaking with the applicant, it's actually a safety issue where this would be a safer way to pick up the food.
Actually, if you want to do something, you should do it yourself. I made a big mistake. When we filed the application, I had a family emergency overseas in Lebanon. I had to fly the country and I put down my lawyer to represent us. I would never ask for a work-up window. I don't know what work-up window.
I mean, if that was
You know,
what was.
Usually is you drive and you pick up the food. So I think it's a misunderstanding. My lawyer did not be aware how the food industry work and how the window does. So I think it's just misunderstanding.
We can fix that. I mean, I don't even know if that was officially recorded in the text of the decision, but we can rectify
It was recorded on the record, so
It's
that's
on the
why
record.
after speaking with the solicitor's office, the best course of action was to have the applicant come before you as he is tonight and to request the change from walk up to drive up. So
Previously approved walk-up window, we want to change to a drive.
Absolutely.
And it was a drive-up window during the KFC. Are there any specific questions before we go to public comment?
It just a question I've got for the applicant. The drive-through window, it's on the south side of the building. How is traffic going to be directed? Is traffic, once you pick it up, are you going to be directed onto, is that Ridgeway right next to it? Yeah. Is traffic going to be directed onto Ridgeway or right onto a Metacom?
You go straight to American, or even you can take a ride. There's a parking lot open. There's both options. And the parking lot is big enough and wide enough for duplicate cars to do movement around.
Yeah, and the only reason I bring that up is since the addition of the outdoor dining,
Yes.
from my own personal observations, visibility on Metacom has been incredibly reduced. If you're on Ridgeway, looking to, as you're trying to, look left, from my own personal experience, vision is greatly reduced on seeing Metacom from that. So I'm just curious. That's a concern I have is if you've got increased traffic flow coming out from the pickup window, you got to look right, look left before you're going to go onto Metacom. From my perspective, from what I've seen before, visibility is greatly reduced. It's hard to see.
Is
So-
it because
so
of
in
the
defense-
fence?
In defense of that spot.
Yes.
That was before that was like parking space for handicap parking. And there was a huge sign in the middle of it. So there was always obstructions blocking that view, if you will. I think by removing those parking spots, you're actually removing a large void that would have been, a large obstruction if you would have had 2 to 3 cars parked there. So just
I'm not trying to be an obstruct, it's just, it's something I've noticed that was, it's really, it kind of took me by surprise. And and like I said, you know, I know we've got the drive-through, it's already physically there. I mean, the window is still there. The concern I've got is just increased traffic flow. I mean, it's tough just on Ridgeway, and then if you're adding other vehicles, the line of sights aren't great. And again, that's just my own opinion and, you know, from my own, personal knowledge of the area.
And was that, in your opinion, was that the result of the fencing that's around the seating area? causing
Yes.
the obstruction? So it's the fence that's around the seating area that blocked your view of oncoming traffic?
Yes.
One of the things we noticed when we had the building is people, when they go in, they will go in front of the car, in front of the door, drive and they cut through. And that's what's like, people going to the kids or somebody's leaving, they will cut front for the door. We put the barrier, we put all the stuff in to make it more elegant. And as far as we know, is KFC was a huge drive-through pickup. We're not even 10% what KFC is doing. We just did it as a convenience, got a bit of COVID happen again. You know what? People just go through the window, pick up the food. The window is there, the drive-through there. I figured it would be a nice convenience thing. No speakers, you just icon, you take it, you sit, we send you a code, you pick it up. That's it.
So, and I know when we previously reviewed this, we did have concerns about that sign being right in the middle of the front of this thing and cars hitting it and driving into it was going to be a nuisance. So now that that's closed off with seating,
Yes.
it resolves that nuisance. Although, you know, with respect to Mr. Nystrom's comment, based on the plan, I don't see that there is no way, once you pass that pickup window, you cannot go on to Ridgeway because there's parking.
Yes. But I don't think that there's a curb there. So I think many people simply drive through that parking area if it's unoccupied to exit on Ridgeway rather than out of park.
Yeah, what I'm saying is whether you're on Ridgeway or coming out of you're kind of facing the same direction. My concern is just due to the fencing put up for the outdoor dining area, visibility is greatly reduced. Just even driving on Ridgeway, let alone you're that much closer and you're going to be increasing traffic flow. And I'll be the first one to say the outdoor seating, it looks nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, my concern is its visibility is tough. Since that went up, visibility is already tough on Ridgeway. I'm concerned it's going to be even worse now with the addition of, you know, funneling cars through the proposed drive-through lane.
Is there any regulation about how close outdoor seating can be to the curb and if it's blocking visibility of traffic? Is that anywhere in the state law that was passed to allow outdoor seating during COVID?
Don't believe so. I think that was just the first that sent it next year. So there's not really very strict regulation in place. If there's any temporary and permanent, so.
So the outdoor seating can go anywhere essentially.
Correct.
We just put it as a cosmetic, just to keep some ambience to the building. When people drive through, it's like, this is a nice place, let's go sit down over there, take the meal and sit.
Yeah,
It's
I
only
don't,
6 tables.
yeah, I don't think the seating itself is necessarily the problem. I think the concern we heard was that maybe the fencing that's surrounding it is hard to see around for oncoming traffic
Yeah.
if you're trying to exit out.
That's why we choose a metal fencing, metal lag, so it doesn't create too much, keep a little more distance, more open. There was other fencing we could have put in there, but we choose the metal one every 8 inches, and just in case a kid, if there was a little kid cannot slide in between it, we put a lot of thought to it too, because safety is very important.
Yeah, no, and like I get it, if you're gonna have seating that close to Medicom, you gotta have some sort of fencing. I believe me, like I said, I think it looks nice. the problem I'm having reconciling is by increasing traffic, you're asking us to be, you know, allowed to increase traffic flow. I'm concerned about visibility from Ridgeway.
I'm not sure it actually does increase the traffic flow. I mean, if I've been there several times, it's a great spot. And when I go, I drive in and I get parked as close to the front door as I can so I can go in and come out. And then I go out onto Medicom. I haven't had any big issues, and whether there's a pickup window there or not, you're still coming out on Medicom.
Yeah, I think
A lot of
most people are coming out that way
Regardless.
anyways.
I worked in that restaurant when I was in high school and there were cars in the front constantly.
Yes.
And so it wouldn't create any more of an obstacle than there has been in the past, from my opinion, from my experience. So the cars that would have been there, had there been parking spaces there, I think would have been much more obstructed.
And I don't think we can weigh in on obstruction of visibility if there are no regulations about where the outdoor seating can be in proximity to the street. Probably not in
Mr.
purview.
Mr. Chair, if I may on this, so the applicant, when they came for the outdoor dining, they met with me and were very concerned about the safety having the outdoor dining there. Now, obviously, we know about the emergency measures through the state that they can't have the outdoor dining. So they, on their own, put the bollards, and they actually put them in excess of what I required. The concern was obviously Medicum Avenue is a 35-mile-an-hour zone. God forbid a vehicle came off there. So that's why the bollards are there. They put the decorative structure for the plants and lights. I think, having done a site visit, the north side of the building would be one way. So it's basically one way through that parking lot.
Yeah.
And I think maybe kind of a remedy to the questions is that we require signage. You know, that basically on the south side, do not enter. There is parking curbing on the Ridgeway Drive. So that they wouldn't be able to just come through out onto Ridgeway. They would have to actually go, the vehicle has to actually go out the Medicom side. So my recommendation would be that we could have the applicant put signage.
So if we make that out only,
Yes,
which I think is what the plan we have, there's arrows showing basically the in on the north side of the property and then people circulating around and exiting at the southern end of the property. So if we could just have some signs on the property
Absolutely. That's,
identifying that it's one way in and one way.
I will do that. I will do more signs says one way only, no, do not enter one way only. I'll make sure my signage company, they're very known. They'll do that.
Are there any other questions or comments before we ask?
I mean,
the
on
public?
the plan, it has a speaker box that is signed.
I see that, but we said we're not speaking into the thing, right? You're not speaking into something.
No speaking.
So the
Absolutely no.
speaker box and sign is not going to be there.
No speaker, no microphone, no nothing. It's just they take a picture, it goes to the app, they order and the app, the store notify you from POS system, your food is ready, come pick it up.
So a condition will be that there'll be no audio communication. and
No
it's gonna
audio,
be app-
zero order.
It's app based. Anything else at the moment? Is there anyone in the public who wants to comment on this application? Do you want to officially make that comment? You're all set. And there's no one in the public. Are there any further comments or discussion from the board? We've attempted to address traffic flow. The requirement that signage will be put in to identify one way in and
I will
one way
take care of
out.
that. I'll submit some to you guys, so you can see it too before we even,
The zoning official.
that's fine. No problem.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion on this application?
I can make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve application 2326. Meta Realty owner and Aij Boutros applicant, 651 Medicom Avenue. Plat map 15A, lots 251. Request for a special use permit to allow a drive-through service window in the business zoning district. Should be noted that this was KFC since, I think, the 80s. And it's had a drive-through window, but when the new restaurant was built, that was taken, not being used. The special use will be compatible with the neighboring land uses. There's several other restaurants with drive-through windows, Dunkin' Donuts across the street, McDonald's, Burger King, et cetera. And it will fit the area. The special use will not create a hazard in the neighborhood. It's been a drive-in through window before. This is more of a pickup window, not a drive-through window. It's app-based. And there is no special use permit will be compatible with the community comprehensive plan. It's there's safety there. There's outside seating. That's creating more of a one-way traffic flow. And the owner has put bollards there. And safety will be there. The public convenience and welfare will be served by not having to get out of your car and be able to pick up your food. And we should note that it is an app-based thing. Signage will be put in for one-way traffic around the building counterclockwise. And there's no speaker on, or still is no speaker on the ordering board on the west side of the building. I don't know if I can add anything else.
Anyone else have any other conditions or amendments? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is passed 5-0. So you can submit whatever information is needed to the zone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate that. You were very
Thank you.
impressed. Be nice building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next, we have two items. We're going to have a motion, I think, to combine them. I'll just read them here. It's application 2327 at 28 Child Street LLC owner and David Sequino applicant, 28 Child Street, plat 4, lot 32. Requesting a special use permit to allow 9 residential dwelling units and 2 commercial units in the village zoning district. Also, we have 2328, same owner, same applicant, same location, but requesting a variance for relief of the required parking and to allow a residential unit on the first floor in the mixed-use building in the village business zoning district. So if you'd like to identify yourself again.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, oh,
I would have to recuse myself due
Okay,
to
so-
conflict of interest.
Mr. Elves is recusing. The composition of the board remains the same because the 5 regular members are still present.
Mr. Chair, I would move that applications 23-27 and 23-28 be administratively merged for the purpose of testimony.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the testimony will apply equally to both applications, but we'll have separate motions, one for special use and one for variance. So now, Mr. Sequino, if you'd like to explain what you'd like to do here.
I still need to identify myself.
Oh, yes.
It's
yes, you're done.
My name is David Sequino, Sequino, 28 Child Street LLC.
So give us an explanation of the special use that you want to have and then why you need a variance to do that.
Okay, so we're talking about an existing building with an existing condition at this point that didn't jive with what town records were. So special use is for a residential unit on first floor.
So how many residential units is the building presently approved for according to town records?
According to town records, it's 8 residential apartments and 2 storefronts,
2 storefronts and 8 residential.
8 residential.
And so you're basically proposing to have 1 commercial storefront.
No, the existing condition actually is 2 storefronts
2
with 9 residential apartments, one being.
Oh, it already has.
It already has.
Got
It's existed
So
for quite a while.
what's noted on the included plans as the 35 Market Street apartment is the missing 9th unit. that is
Correct.
not-
Correct.
So nothing's
You're saying so
changing.
the first floor apartment
Yes,
is the
correct.
missing one.
Correct. It's this one.
So nothing is changing the
Nothing's-
layout of the building.
Nothing's
You're
changing.
speaking
We're just
to.
trying to coordinate what
What's
is
on
on
the
town
records.
records with what's existing.
If I could ask the applicant, to the best of your knowledge, how long has this building had that one non-conforming unit?
I'm in my 57th year of life and it's been that long at least, so.
Okay, so it's your testimony, it's been there 50 plus
50
years.
some odd years. Yeah,
Have you owned the building that long?
family has.
That's
But, yeah, so
Okay, so the special use is to allow a first floor residential unit, which is not normally allowed.
correct.
Okay, and then the variance is for the parking. Is there an existing variance for the 8 units that were already recorded?
No, again, it's pre-existing, pre-zoning, so it's
All right,
been there. There are some parking spaces there.
so how many are there?
There's 6,
So you currently have 6.
correct.
And those are all for the use of the residential units?
They are.
Okay,
Matter of fact, out of all the units, we only have 4 cars, so
Are the parking spaces striped and delineated?
they are not at this time.
are they signed as for the residents only?
No, like I said, it's just, most of the tenants don't drive. Like I said, there's 4 cars total at this
So-
point. And I also like to make a little caveat to that. At the time of all this, the Railroad Avenue parking was part of not part of that property, but part of the existing
Mhm.
properties to provide parking that was taken by eminent domain in 1973.
I
So
think I
it was
recall this
about 100
discussion.
spots there that we had, but we don't. So,
Yeah.
um,
All right, so with 9 apartments on the property, you would need 13.5 spaces.
So, yes.
By right, so 14,
correct,
and you have 6, so we're looking for a variance of 8.
correct.
And these are all pre-existing conditions.
Bless you. Yes,
These are all pre-existing conditions, and we haven't, I think the last time you were here, we did talk about the railroad avenue. That
Correct.
you had more space at one time, but the town took that away from you by.
correct.
Okay, any specific questions about either the special use or the variance for the parking?
Regarding, I know you said there's no signage, they're not striped. Is that possible to do?
Of course, it's possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else at this moment? Is there anyone in the
I-
public?
I had one
go ahead.
quick question.
We'll
Are
hold
you
the
being
public.
taxed on 9 apartments?
No, we're being taxed on whatever town records has.
Obviously, that's gonna have to be rectified.
Sure.
Is there any public comment? There's no one lurking behind you, is there? Not that I can see. Okay. Does the board have any further discussion with regard to either of these applications? Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Sapoino?
No, I'm just here for whatever questions you may have.
And so just might I ask, what prompted you to want to rectify this situation?
I didn't even know it existed. At first, we do have the property under contract. So when the attorneys did the title search, and
So the
so
property
forth.
is under contract. It was
Correct.
the result of a title search.
Correct.
It turned out this was only approved for 8, but there were 9 apartments.
yes,
So your
So-
family is going to be ending the long history of owning this building?
unfortunately, yes.
Well, we'd be sorry to see you exit the Warren Realty
you.
market.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel like under the circumstances, then conditioning this variance on some sort of clear delineation of where those 6 spots are would be warranted.
Okay.
Just so that there is no confusion as to how many spots are actually designated for the building.
Sure.
And signage
Yeah.
specific that these are not for the business, because the business doesn't require parking in this
Okay.
zone. But
Yeah.
that these are for residential use only.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? Is there a motion on first the special use permit?
Yes.
All right. I move approval of application 23-27, 28 Child Street LLC owner and David Sequino applicant, 28 Child Street, plat map 4, lots 32. Request for special use permit to allow 9 residential dwelling units and 2 commercial units in the village business zoning district. Again, this such use is permitted in the village business. And we find that the special use, namely seeking 1 additional residential unit, will be compatible with the neighboring land uses, as we've heard earlier tonight. This part of town, since is chock full of mixed commercial residential units, and certainly is something that would fit right in. Indeed, these 9 residential units have been in existence for over 50 years. We find the special use will not cause a hazard in the neighborhood. Again, the type of relief being sought is something that is replete in the downtown area. And again, there's been testimony given today by the applicant that these 9 residential units have been in existence for over 50 years. And we presumably, if they were causing a hazard, this would have been an issue sooner. Ergo, I think we can say it's not making a hazard. We find the special use permit is compatible with community comprehensive plan. Again, this is increasing on paper the residential housing stock, as well as improving the tax rolls eventually. And we find the public convenience and welfare will be served for the above aforesaid reasons. Conditions of approval are contingent on having. Oh, no, wait a minute.
That
That's for
might
the
be for the-
parking. Yeah, all right, so I think that's it.
We might want to just specifically emphasize that the special use is relating to the fact that there's a residential unit on the first floor, which is not normally allowed, but that's why we're granting a special use of it. So the special use then is for.
Especially but the number of units, the variance parking, variance for requirement that mixed use buildings, first level, commercial only.
All right, so special use is only to allow 9 apartments.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So is he gonna need to do,
One special use.
2 variances. Okay.
okay, yeah, but this only came through as one special use and one variance, so we can,
Oh, no, they're both looking.
Are
They are?
listed?
Yeah, and to allow a residential unit on the.
I just can't read.
Just for the
Okay.
record, I didn't say when it was reported, this application and the applicants requesting one special use permit to go legally 9 units in 9 residential units. As you know, one of the units is on the first floor or the lowest level of the building, which is not allowed. Therefore, he would need a variance to allow that residential unit on the bottom level in addition to the parking requirement of this property.
Okay,
Okay, so we can address.
so
that
I think
next.
we're all set with the special use motion, unless anyone has any conditions or amendments. Is there a second for the special use?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the special use is passed 5-0. Now we'll go on to the variance portion. We'll just include both pieces of the variance in the motion.
All right, I move approval of application number 23-28 Child Street LLC owner and David Sequino applicant. 28 Child Street, plat map 4 lots 32, request for a variance for relief on the required parking and to allow a residential unit on the first floor and mixed-use building in the Village Business Zoning District. In granting this variance, we find that the hardships are due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure, not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and not due to the physical or economic disability of the applicant. In specific regards to the residential unit on the first floor, again, there's been testimony given that that residential unit, there has been a residential unit on the ground floor, for the applicant's entire life, over 50 years. This is something that certainly predated the zoning ordinance. Regarding the parking, given that there are 9 proposed residential units, 14 spots would be required. Currently 6 spots exist, thus the applicant is asking for an 8-spot variance. Again, there's been some testimony taken that due to eminent domain many years ago, this property actually lost some parking spaces to the town. There's certainly something that's due to the characteristics of the land and not anything that the applicant has done. We find the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire to realize greater financial gain. Again, there's been testimony given that this layout of this property has been this way for over 50 years, and seeking this variance is a way to kind of formalize and formalize the existing structure. And again, regarding the parking, there's been some testimony given that the lack of parking was something that was caused by eminent domain conducted by the town many years ago. Granting this variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area, and the request conforms to the purpose and intent of the Warren zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. Again, this is improving the housing stock, although the 9 units are there, de facto, this is legally creating the 9th unit so that can continue going on. And it increases the tax rolls in the town. And certainly this type of mixed residential and commercial enterprise is something that is very common in the downtown area. It fits right in. And we find the relief requested is the least relief necessary. Again, the applicant is not asking for any sort of physical alterations or changes. He is merely seeking to memorialize something that already currently exists. And if this were not to be granted, we find that the hardship would be more than a mere inconvenience. Again, it was through no action of the applicant that his amount of parking was reduced by the town. And if this request for variance were not to be granted for the residential unit, that would be reducing the housing stock and essentially fundamentally changing the structure of this building from a means that it's been for the last 50+ years. As further conditions, we will note that the existing 6 parking spots be clearly signed and painted with stripes, very clearly indicating that those 6 spots are for the residences only.
Any other amendments or conditions?
As before the sale of the property.
Okay, and
This applicant must do that.
all right, yeah, so the signage and the striping must be done before you sell the property.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the variances are also approved. 5.
Was there a second on that or?
Oh, sorry, was there a second?
I'll second it.
Someone seconded it.
There's lots of seconds.
So it's seconded and approved.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good evening. Is there any administrative matter that needs scheduling? Nothing, everyone's all set. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
We're now adjourned.